Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about infertility, trying to conceive, fertility lingo. Basically just like acronyms and phrases that you might hear if you're just starting out and you're kind of like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. If you've been around the block, if this is a journey you've been on for a while, you probably know all of this stuff and it's likely not going to be very helpful for you. But I know from experience that when you are like just getting started, either just trying to conceive or you've been trying to conceive for a while and you're just starting your infertility journey, when you're Googling things, because I'm sure you probably were, I know I did, you come across a lot of different forums, sometimes groups where women are talking about TTC, POAS, like PCOS, all these things, and you're like, what? So basically I thought that I would make a video where I explain all, or at least most of the phrases and acronyms that you would need to know if you're just starting on this journey. And I hope that it helps you. I hope that it makes it a little less confusing for you. Let's get started. So the first one I'm going to talk about is pretty basic, trying to conceive, TTC. That's really all you need to know. If you see TTC anywhere, that usually means trying to conceive. Another pretty basic one is O. O stands for ovulation. Next, AF. AF stands for ant flow, and if you have no idea what that means, that actually represents your period. A lot of us women in the trying to conceive community refer to our periods as ant flow. So if someone's like, AF has arrived, she's here guys, that means ant flow. CD, cycle day. So when you're tracking your cycle, you refer to the day that you're on by cycle day. The first day of your cycle is the first day of your period, and the last day of your cycle is the day before your next period. DPO, days past ovulation. So this really helps you when you are hoping to find out whether or not you're pregnant. You track how many days past ovulation you are. And once you get to a certain amount of days past ovulation, that's generally when women begin to test often. CM stands for cervical mucus or cervical fluid / discharge. That is actually very important into knowing when you are fertile and knowing when you are not fertile. If you don't know a lot about that, I definitely recommend reading up on it because it's pretty, it helps you to learn a lot more about your body than you would really expect. I'll just say that, not get too much into it. BD, baby dance. That is code for sex, what you need to do in order to make said babies. Here's a phrase, baby dust. I actually told this to my friend who is like not trying to have a baby, and she was kind of grossed out because she thought baby dust was like the dust from a baby. She was like, that's really morbid. And I was like, no, it's like pixie dust, you know, it's for good luck. When someone's trying to conceive or they have like a faint line on a pregnancy test, you say baby dust, good luck. Oh, it's my list. TWW or 2WW stands for the 2-week wait. That is the 2 weeks, generally 2 weeks after your ovulation, before your period. The dreaded 2-week wait. That is when many of us are very antsy and symptom spotting. Symptom spotting is when you are really paying very close attention to your body and things that might show that you are pregnant. LP, your luteal phase. I'm not sure I pronounced that right. It might be luteal, luteal. I just say luteal phase. I don't know. But your luteal phase starts the first day after ovulation and ends the day before your period. This has been really, really helpful for me because I have very irregular cycles, but I can generally tell when I'm ovulating and I can tell when I'm gonna have my period because my luteal phase is almost always the same amount of days every time. So I know that once I ovulate, I just need to start counting down those 13 days in my case, and generally I'll start my period. POAS, pee on a stick. You might see a lot of women saying that they are trying really hard not to POAS. or that they are a POAS addict. A lot of the women in this community pee on sticks very often, whether that's an ovulation test or a pregnancy test. I mean, it just comes with the territory. BBT, basal body temperature. So this is one of the much more time-consuming methods for tracking your fertility or your ovulation, possibly pregnancy as well. Basically, it is your lowest temp obtained during rest. So you wake up in the morning, before you get up to pee, before you drink water, anything, you immediately take your temperature and you chart it. And generally your chart, well, I could do a whole video on this. This is actually really complex. That's the basics. If you want to learn more, I suggest researching about it, or if you want me to do a video on it, comment and I'll attempt to do that. But there's a lot that goes into temping. FMU is your first morning urine. Your first morning urine is generally very saturated, and it has, if you're pregnant, most of the pregnancy hormone in it. You could be pregnant and not know if you test late in the day and you've just been like drinking water or whatever. Like generally, if you're pretty early, they say to test with your first morning urine. So you might read that acronym here and there. HCG. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this. It will be around here somewhere for you. That is the pregnancy hormone. That is what you will have that will register on a pregnancy test if you are indeed pregnant. BFP and BFN. BFP stands for big fat positive, meaning you got a positive pregnancy test, yay. And BFN stands for a big fat negative, meaning you did not get a positive pregnancy test. CP, cervical position. So this is basically when women manually check to see where their cervical position is to determine whether or not they are fertile or pregnant. Yes, our bodies tell us all kinds of things in different ways. FRER or FRER, that stands for First Response Early Result Pregnancy Tests. These are pretty much the only pregnancy tests I recommend, or at least pink dye tests in general. I have a whole video where I had a false positive pregnancy test on a blue dye test, and I just do not recommend them ever. I would stick to First Response if I were you. Internet cheapies. You might hear this phrase and be like, what are they talking about? Basically, on Amazon, they sell different brands of disposable, of course they're disposable because you pee on them. They sell brands of the little dip tests, like you pee in a cup, you dip them, they're real flimsy, you can't pee on them. They're very cheap. Wanfo has some that are, it's like a pack of 20 pregnancy tests, 50 ovulation strips, and it's like 20 bucks. I definitely recommend those. HPT stands for home pregnancy test. That is basically a pregnancy test that you take at home and not at the doctor's office. MC stands for miscarriage. That is a loss before 20 weeks, and a loss after 20 weeks is a stillbirth. Another phrase that you might hear while women are talking about their experiences is a chemical pregnancy. This is a essentially a miscarriage that happens very, very early on. Generally, what will happen is a woman will have a positive pregnancy test or a positive blood test, and then shortly after start period, signaling that she had a chemical pregnancy. OPK stands for Ovulation Predictor Kit. This is just basically an ovulation test. This tells you when you're ovulating so that you can BD at the right time to make a baby. Ovulation test for LH. That is your luteinizing hormone. Yes, luteinizing hormone. Basically, that is just the hormone that shows up when you are ovulating. Sorry if the camera looks different. I had full storage, so I actually had to go delete a bunch of stuff. Where was I? Yes, basically with an ovulation test, you can have 2 lines. It doesn't mean you're ovulating. Can be kind of confusing, but you'll figure it out, I promise. BC stands for birth control. Anovulatory cycles are basically cycles where you don't ovulate, and generally if you bleed during those cycles, it's withdrawal bleeding, kind of like what you will have while you're on birth control. IB stands for implantation bleeding. This is some people kind of think that implantation bleeding doesn't exist, and then a lot of people are like, that's not true because I've had it happen, and a lot of people say it does exist. I'm sure it does exist because a lot of women experience it. Basically, it is bleeding that happens 6 to 12 days after ovulation, or no, implantation happens 6 to 12 days after ovulation. So I guess, yeah, that's when you would get your implantation bleeding as well. This is often a woman's first sign of pregnancy. ENDO, that stands for endometriosis. This is basically a disorder where the uterine lining grows on the outside of your uterus, I believe. This is a disorder that can cause infertility problems in women. PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's another disorder. This one was a little more confusing to explain because often it's associated with cysts on the ovaries, but you can actually have PCOS and not have any cysts on your ovaries. It causes changes in your body and your hormones. Sometimes it contributes towards weight gain, facial hair in women, and other not so fun things. HSG, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. No, I will for your amusement. Hysterosalpingogram. That is a test that you take to see if your tubes are open. It's not very fun. Basically, there's like a tube that's inserted into your cervix that has a balloon at the end, and then they pump up the balloon and insert dye into your fallopian tubes. This is actually something that I went through, and it's in one of my first fertility videos. I'll link that below as well. But a lot of people say that this is very painful. Fortunately for me, it wasn't nearly as painful as I thought it was going to be. I was terrified, and I really didn't have any reason to be. My tubes are open if you're wondering. But yes, a lot of women actually get pregnant after getting this test, even when their tubes are open, because sometimes there are blockages. And pumping the dye through kind of clears the way. I actually had one side that it wasn't like a major blockage or anything. They just had trouble pumping the dye through. Like there was some sort of congestion is the word that they used. And they had to do an extra pump of dye to kind of clear it. And surprisingly, it didn't hurt me at all. IUI, this is an intrauterine insemination. Let's try that again. An intrauterine insemination. That is basically what it sounds like, where like imagine a turkey baster just like pumping sperm into your uterus. It's not a turkey baster, it's more technical than that, but that's what I picture. And last but certainly not least, we have IVF. This is in vitro fertilization. This is generally a last stop for women trying to conceive and struggling to conceive. It is a procedure where they basically fertilize the egg outside of the woman's body, and then they implant the egg back into the woman's body. It is extremely expensive. It is extremely exhausting on the woman's body. It requires often a lot of shots. It might be always you have to do the shots, I'm sure. I don't know a lot about IVF. I'm like not even trying to think about that just yet. Like, no. So that is basically it. If I forgot anything, feel free to comment below and let me know. I'm going to be trying to do more informative fertility videos like this. I know that it's extremely overwhelming when you first start. There's not one specific place that I've found where you can just get all the information that you need. And I'm going to try and make this a space where women can come, gather up some information, and hopefully feel just a little bit less overwhelmed by all of the newness of trying to conceive or starting your infertility journey. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you're interested in even more fertility related content, I do share a lot on my Instagram about my fertility journey. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helped you in some way, and I'll see you next video. Bye.